This Broly was pretty sloppy, both figuratively and literally. Is there any way to fix him? Hey folks, MasakoX here. Once again, it is Haverock and I's duty as Dragon Ball enjoyers to figure out the lesser loved traits of the franchise and to investigate whether there is any way to make bits a bit better, or at the very least, less divisive and unappealing. And with this one, oh, he is a pile of goo to figure out. And he's also a pile of goo. This isn't without precedent, of course, because you see, in the history of our channel, we have fairly often tried to modernize a lot of the past filler and movie characters that have either not aged particularly well or were not given enough to work with, gotten short shrift, with the likes of Tapion, Bojack, or even the likes of Pycon from the series, to name a few. These characters aren't necessarily bad, but they were certainly underbaked and needed more time to prove themselves, to stand out even further, or at least more to pass muster. We have even managed to put a certain channel meme because of this to rest, though we don't exactly remember which one it was though. Even this little thought experiment has been something that we've been very much against, and we are usually willing to undertake any challenge, so this is saying something. But yeah, we need to be more mature. There is one character that we never thought we would make a video about until this point, but hey, now we are. A character that very few people would probably want to bring back to the fore in any way, or even want to remember existed. But you know what? Okay, we're feeling frisky. We feel it might be worth it now for the simple challenge of just making something better. I mean, come on. We can hardly make it worse, right? That's right. I bet very few of you had seen this coming, though okay, the video's title and thumbnail might have spoiled it a little bit, but let's give some love to Bio Broly, everyone. Yes, yes, I can feel the vitriol, confusion and sourness flooding into the comment section below. Yes, I see it down there. But Masako, why are you wasting your time with a character so irrelevant and goofy? You could finally make a cooler video or discuss some of the supporting cast from the fillers, but instead you opt for Bio Broly? This guy's form's name is literally called Syrupy Form. Unsubscribe. Yes, of course, that was the channel meme. Yeah, okay. I understand your ambivalence towards this topic. I know how it looks, but you know what? In a way, the Bio Broly movie had something going for it, which you realise once you get past the initial premise. Much like one of my favourite animes, Mysterious Girlfriend X. You know, once you get past the initial chestnut, you do find something that's, somewhat unique. Okay, Masako, I love you, but you're really pushing this. What's your point? Okay, in a weird way, this movie did its best in that it tried something new. While, okay, baiting people with their Broly nostalgia and inflating the character into having its own trilogy just for the sake of it, something of which has never really been done before or since, not even with Cooler. Although now you could argue whether it's actually a quadrilogy, but let's save that for the comments. So before we go into how we would solve this film, let's do a quick rundown for you which will save you having to do so yourself, a little mini review and analysis. You see, we're actually providing you a kindness, so you don't actually have to go back and watch it. So first and foremost, like BoJack Unbound, Goku's role in this installment is minimal to non-existent. Just as it was in the Second Coming, except for that little morale boost. But in this case, the main hitters of the DBZ cast, not just Goku, at the time in the middle of the Buu saga, they're not present. There's no Gohan, there's no Vegeta, there's no Piccolo. For them, it's not worth watching. Those folks are nowhere to be seen in any meaningful capacity. Instead, we have to rely on the focus of 5 unlikely protagonists: Goten, Trunks, 18, Hercule, and Krillin. Okay, off to a bit of a lackluster start on the surface, but you know, this actually turns into a bit of a blessing in disguise. There are less expectations. If we can say anything good about this movie right out of the gate, this lack of major characters is actually kind of nice. There's less over-reliance on the big guns to make up for a very, very thin and basic plot. You need to be more clever with your minor majors and minor characters. Although, sadly for us, the boys here are their least likable and seem very obnoxious, especially now. This was peak irritation, and even at this point, they are still grating, and we don't even have Gotenks here. Oh god, that would have just been the worst. The standout character for me in this movie? Definitely Android 18. 18 here, with Krillin 2 later, carries this movie. They're very welcome here, and it's great to see her doing stuff and being very much in character. Also, the 18 Hercule subplot is very funny at times. It's cool to see actually some nods to the main storyline in the movie, with how she wants her money for taking a dive, and it gives us a very unlikely dynamic for a moment that we don't see much, or ever again really, after the movie credits roll. At least the movie is something you can't get anywhere else. It all goes back to the notion of less likely scenarios and narratives getting a chance to be present in the movies. Less of the simple fisticuff action, and instead, you can rely on character interactions to help bring together people who wouldn't usually be in the same room in normal circumstances when the full roster is around. Okay, that is one plus there. One of very few. And of course, we have Goten, Trunks, and Krillin, of all people, finishing Broly's career in the movie timeline. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. And copious amounts of water from the sea. In short, it's I killed Broly! Okay, maybe not the original Broly himself, but yeah, it counts. Or does it? Now, this is the first and probably biggest issue we have with Bio Broly. We get teased with that clone of an established character being in the fore, and the source of the DNA being fairly legit. It did something also that DBZ movies never really did. Call back to previous movies. This plot was used by Lord Jaguar to try and get his revenge on the likes of Hercule, trying to expose him as a hack and somebody who does not deserve to be called the world's savior for all of his efforts of defeating Cell. So he gets the DNA of Broly to make a bio warrior and try and succeed. Okay, fair enough. But in the end, we don't get Broly. We don't even get a really viable clone of Broly. The monstrosity we get has very little to do with the actual Broly. He met a very sticky end when loads of vials somehow landed on him and he becomes just a swamp beast. And oh yeah, he isn't much of a talker. Actually, I guess it's a saving grace. We don't even get wild shots of Kakarot! Now don't get us wrong, we have nothing against the initial pitch. A failed clone trope is not exactly a bad idea for a Broly script. It's just you don't really need to use Broly. You could just use an amalgamation of other fighters to make a brand new concoction. Or even something entirely new that we've never seen before and have the same results. The exclusive usage of Broly here is just pure marketing and how not to make a good movie. It's just not justifiable in this case. It's become a movie which is not highly regarded, and instead it's probably one of the most skippable movies in the entire franchise. You really don't have to watch it. You're not really missing out on anything. And that's not something you'd want to be saying about a Dragon Ball Z movie. But that being said, we're not here exclusively to whinge about this, we're here to fix this, so you would want to be talking about Bio Broly in some way. What would we do with this particular story thread in the Super era? How would we bring it to relevance and make it work within the lore that we know today? Well, let's go. First of all, this is not something we'd want to convert wholesale. Let's make that clear. We don't want to do the same exact story twice, essentially. Unlike with the first two Super movies and arcs, am I right? Instead, we'd like to be more indirect but true to the initial goal. We'd like to allude to the Broliness of this being, much more so than the original Bio Broly, and Super Broly seems to have a very easy way to go about this particular direction. We feel that we could make this work. At the end of the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, there is a very strong amount of intrigue surrounding the character from all sides. Frieza still expresses his interest in harnessing Broly's power, despite the fact that he was pummeled from head to toe for well over an hour. He got, somehow, some kind of thrill from it. But hey, we're not here to shame him for his own personal preferences. For real, Frieza's kind of fanboying over this big brute. We can even feel a little bit of a man crush there. But it's very clear that Frieza does not want to end his life or anything like that. He wants to keep him around. And this is something the Frieza of old would never do. Here though, he is very much wanting to embrace the Saiyan power instead of eliminating it because it wronged him personally. And we also know to great lengths that Frieza's race and underlings are actually quite good at biotechnological fields of science. I mean, come on, Frieza exists. I mean, that's already proof positive that they could create feasible clones. They can also grow their own armor, and we suspect that they are able to reproduce via further cloning and genetic engineering. Evolution through scientific means. So what does this have to do with Broly, Masako? He's no longer on Frieza's ship, and I doubt that he would be willingly wanting to help them in any way, let alone give them some DNA. Ah, well that point is moot actually. Think about it. Broly spent a decent amount of time on Frieza's ship getting to Earth after being picked up on Vampa. wearing clothes, using the facilities, taking showers, etc. So his DNA is definitely lying around there in more than enough quantities for the sakes of cloning. Yes, monkey, you'll take that shower. Throw your clothes on the floor for me, yes. Berry Blue and Kikino could easily pick up and swab some clothes and whatnot when Broly wasn't looking. I do this for insurance, you see, Frieza would say. So right now, in the Super Timeline post-Broly movie, we have all the pieces in place in order for Frieza to create his own Broly without the original's knowledge. Nobody would need to know that this was happening since the Saiyans, at this moment in the story, are very distracted with the likes of Moro and then Granola. Frieza has had many months to go about his business doing his own thing, him knowingly staying out of the limelight regards to Moro, noping himself out of that saga entirely. But wait, why would cloning Broly be so alluring? Well, Frieza has witnessed the regular Broly strength firsthand. He felt it very up close. And on top of all that, he knows how to unlock that potential. And if that's not enough for you, he can condition this Broly to be loyal to him from the get-go, reducing all the humanizing factors of the clone with ease. Through the power of nurturing, he can make this clone of Broly truly subservient to him, using any means of coercion and manipulation that he can muster. I mean, after all, Frieza's actually pretty good at being convincing, charismatic, and charming when he needs to be. He could easily meld a new clone of Broly into his own way of thinking. Basically, this act would give Frieza the perfect soldier to perform invasions on his behalf, frame the original Broly perhaps, make him have a really bad rep, and fight those pesky Saiyans for him if needed. And why would that be alluring, to not fight the Saiyans himself? Well, it's because this cloned Bio Broly would be much more like the original version, the OG Broly from 1993. Fan service. That one that got people excited about him for decades in the first place. The Broly that his creator Takao Koyama fanboys about to this day. His own creation, merciless and completely sociopathic. Only not being a giant freaking baby shouting Kakarot all the time, we're not going to have that bit. Also, his attire might pay homage to the original one in some way, seeing how Frieza would like to differentiate his monster from the Super Broly. Nice little bit of fan service there again. And easy to do also, considering the original Broly went topless most of the time. At first, when the Super Broly does discover this clone, he would probably try to reason with it, talk to it, calm down his brother. But he would quickly realize that that wouldn't work. He doesn't have anything in common with him. This clone is more a machine of destruction in a skin bag than a living and breathing, truly independently thinking being. He doesn't share his friendships, his harsh upbringing. None of that. He can't relate. He just enjoys smashing stuff. That would give Broly a nice taste of what could have been had he not met Chilai and Lemo, and give him a real sense of perspective there. Now, of course, our typical favourite Freezy Pup would not realise that even the cloned Broly is not that easy to control when it goes completely berserk. He would think that he could control the being because, oh, I'm Frieza, I'm so great. But hubris would definitely send this little experiment over the edge, and thusly make this Bio Broly a problem that everyone needs to solve. It would probably take everybody going, the combined might of Goku, Vegeta, Super Broly, and Frieza to take this monster down, correct the tyrant's mistake. But if we want to have further nods to the original movie, from which we are basing this on, when this clone reaches a particular level of power, it could start to fall apart, as it were. The cloning process starting to fail in some way, showing that despite its advanced tech and track record, even the technology of the Frieza clan could not create a vessel this perfect for so much unbridled power, unpredictability, and it increasing really fast. You could also throw in accelerated aging, crumbling, jellification, blah blah blah, your standard clone movie tropes. But maybe not going so far as to resorting to the original syrupy form, but becoming unstable, ironically more impervious to damage. Okay, picture this. Wouldn't it be funny if in this state he is able to almost destroy the three Saiyans and Frieza, only for the characters like, I don't know, Goten, Trunks, Krillin to discover that his weakness is water, like the original? Perhaps drop hints earlier on that this clone doesn't like water, rejecting drinks of water? There's a connection. Not only would it show that sometimes you need something more than just brute strength to defeat your opponent, but it would give the lesser characters a pretty major boost. They could chuck him with water, and when his structure would harden, he could then be shattered into pieces like a big ice sculpture by the OG Super Broly. Yeah, cool, eh? And after that, well, Frieza decides that maybe cloning something might not be the smartest idea going, and Goten and Trunks finally gain some recognition. We feel that whilst it's not exactly the most ambitious plot, it would serve for a nice little action flick. A solid 6 or 7 out of 10. You know, seeing Bio Broly tear apart planetary armies before standing against our heroes would certainly give us some very spectacular money shots and effects and fights. I mean, come on, did you really expect more than that? Come on guys, this is Bio Broly we're talking about here. We like to modernize stuff, certainly, but we're not miracle makers. At the end of the day, this scenario feels, weirdly plausible when it comes to narrative elements already in place. If they even decide to make a sequel, in fact, something like this could happen. The appearance and input from Krillin, Goten, and Trunks is of course the most wishful thinking of all, but hey, we can dream. So yeah, turns out you can salvage that big puddle of syrup, somehow. But the question is though, should you? Should you really? But what do you folks think? Is this a workable alternative? Would you actually want to see this syrupy, gooey flesh again? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!